Hey guys, it's time for the September Q&A.
September,
months away from the Rise of Skywalker and Mandalorian and everything else. So, we have 9 questions this month. So let's get started. First, we have Michael Moore, who asks, what do you think Poe did between the time the TIE fighter he and Finn were in crashed on Jakku and when he showed up on Takodana? James, what do you think? What do you think Poe did in that break?
This is in the novelization. He woke up. He went and found... it's been a while since I've read it. He went and found like a junk trader, and then the junk trader got hit by pirates or something like that, and then Poe had to like convince him that he should drive. He's like, let me drive, and he's like, no, I know how to run my ship, and he's like, no, let me drive, and then he just kind of like pushes him off and then takes the steering wheel and then gets away from like the pirates or something like that. Can't remember exactly, but then he goes into town and he gets on a ship and he just meets back with the Resistance, if I remember correctly. Somebody's probably like screaming at me like, no. But yeah,
that sounds right. I feel like I remember that.
That's probably why JJ was like, I'm not writing that part in my movie.
I actually think it probably was in the movie, and then that was one of the things they just kind of like cut.
No, because originally
they were gonna kill him.
They were gonna kill him there.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yes.
They were gonna kill Poe at the beginning of the movie, but they liked Oscar, so they left him in.
Yeah. I know, but I'm talking about all the way. Like, the book didn't get written based on the first script.
Right.
Like, I'm saying, like, maybe in the first script or they were kind of doing that. But then... Wait, you're saying they were going to kill him all the way up until they were filming?
I think, their plan was JJ's plan was to kill him off. And then, I don't know if he got convinced by Oscar or what the situation was, but they wrote him back in. Because, I mean, if you really think about it, Poe Dameron doesn't really do anything else in the movie besides lead. Like, you could have gotten anyone else to lead the attack on Starkiller. It could have been...
You could have gotten anybody else to lead the attack on Starkiller.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Elasti would have been a great fill-in for that.
What was Red Leader's name, James?
You could have gotten the oscillator guy.
That's what I'm saying.
What's the name of the guy? What's the name of the pilot who? What's the name of the pilot who led the attack on the Death Star in A New Hope?
The pilot that led the attack on the Death Star in A New Hope.
Yes. What was his name? That very important person. That's my point. That's my point. It would have been Black Leader, and that would have been it. And end of story there. That's what I'm saying. Like, Poe Dameron, from a character standpoint, you could have taken him out or put him back in The Force Awakens.
That's it's not Wedge, is it?
No, it's I don't know his actual name. Someone does out there, but it was like Red Leader and Gold Leader were the two guys. Jeff and Jeff.
The next question is from Ryan Fenley, and he asks, do you think George Lucas will ever have genuine praise for a new Star Wars movie or live action series, or will he stay perpetually grumpy? John, you're a grumpy guy sometimes. So
am I though?
A little bit.
That's interesting. That's very nice of you to say, by the way.
I said only sometimes. I said sometimes. Everybody gets grumpy sometimes.
I don't like you. I don't know. George Lucas, like, it's sad to see, because if you even look back on interviews with him before the sale to Disney, even though he went through the stuff with the prequel haters, he was still a positive guy and that sort of thing. He just seems so just tired and angry now, and it's sad to see. So I'm gonna say probably not. He may like go visit them and try to like get his hands back in the clay once in a while, like he was doing with Ron Howard in that scene in Solo with the coat hanger and that sort of thing. But I think he's just kind of like bitter to the point where he's like, this isn't me anymore. So I don't want to see people embrace Star Wars that I didn't make. And I get that. There's probably a little bit of jealousy there. JJ became the king with the greatest movie of all time. And Lucas is like, yeah, but it's my stuff, so I probably not.
I think this stemmed from that article that came out about Bob Iger's memoir, where he was saying like, "Oh, he sold us the outlines, but we didn't really use them. I handled it terribly."
Which, can I ask a quick question? Because some guy started like slamming us on Star Wars Newsnet, saying like, "You guys didn't cover this because it makes Disney look bad." And I'm like, did anyone not know that George Lucas gave them treatments and they didn't use it? Because I thought that was common knowledge. And is anyone surprised or didn't know that George Lucas didn't think The Force Awakens was that great? And those are the two parts of the story. Granted, you get Iger's point of view on it, but the two main parts of the story have been known for 5 years.
Right.
So we were like, why are we going to report something that's just, here's my memoirs from 5 years ago, I'm just going to bring them up again. So
yeah, I don't
sorry
know.
to shoot that on a different.
No, it makes sense. I mean, we deal with this kind of stuff all the time. James, do you have anything to add? Do you think George Lucas is always going to be grumpy?
Well, real quick, I was going to say, I looked up his name. His name's Garvin Dave Dreiss. So Jeff was kind of close when you said
Garvin.
that, because it's
Garvin.
Was he would have said Dave, people would have been like, he got it.
Now was he the almost there guy?
Probably.
Almost
I don't know.
there.
Yeah.
This stuff drives me crazy, though. I feel
just
like
a pecking on the surface.
No. Yeah. About George Lucas. Gosh, I don't know. I was really putting on my tinfoil hat today, and I was like, is there any way that this is being brought up because they want to bring George back in a very agreeable way? Like, hey, why don't you produce or direct some of the episodes of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show? And then you can go into all your crazy midi-chlorian, the Force, and what it all means, and all that stuff. And he's like, okay, I'll do that.
James, do you think, real quick, do you think if they offer that to him, he would accept?
That's kind of the thing. It's like, okay. The answer is no, right? But I mean, the answer as far
I'm
as
not
like,
sure.
Is he going to do that? I'm saying like, no, I don't think so. But what makes me question it is like, picture that being the plan. Kind of at some point they go, what if we don't want to do that? But like, what if we just gave it to George? Like, do you think George would have any interest in this? We could win back some of the fans. We could do this. We could do this. That would bring a lot of people into our show, into our Disney Plus and all this. Because as soon as we get talking like George is coming back to direct Ewan and Obi-Wan and all this other stuff, that's better than any other name they probably could get. Because any other name would be great, but there's something about George. You know what I mean? I was thinking about it today, and I was like, if George said that he was doing the Obi-Wan show, that almost kind of changes it for me. Like, I think like, oh, now it's interesting.
Yeah, it probably makes Ewan McGregor go, want to try this on with someone else.
Maybe. Yeah. But I don't know. In that case, he would be happy, obviously, about a Star Wars show again, and he'd be talking about how great Star Wars is. But I don't know. I think right now, John, you're probably right. Like, he's just like, yeah, it's whatever. You know, people are going to ask me my opinion, and I'm going to be like cordial about it.
Lacey, are you 3 for 3 on the grumps?
Yeah, I think he's like, they took my stuff and they made it worse. Like, I just think that's how he is right now, and I think that he's not helping with the fueling of Disney's ruining Star Wars. Like, my whole thing is like, even if you don't agree with it, it's one of those things that like you just play nice. But George never has played nice, so I'm not really surprised. All right. Next is Levi Bond. Hi, Levi. And he asks, how into the Legends EU were you guys at the time it was all coming out? Personally, I've been way more into canon than what came before. Not that I didn't like some of the stuff. I just prefer the non-contradictory connectivity. Ugh, lots of words. James, how into the Legends EU were you? Are you?
I mean, I feel like all of us are going to give a similar answer, which is like not really at all, right? But I can say like I was aware of some of it. I knew that there was a guy named Thrawn. I knew that like Mara Jade was married to Luke and that she was like some sort of brainwashed something from, that whole storyline. And there were a couple other like random things here and there. Obviously, I knew the characters Bane and Plagueis, Retta and Knights of the Old Republic. I knew was a thing and people played that game. And I saw some of the cinematics and I didn't know like any of the characters and stuff. I was like, all that stuff looks crazy and cool. Yeah. I did play Force Unleashed. I knew those games pretty well. But that was mostly because they were like PlayStation mainstay titles. Like when the PS3 came out, it was like, you gotta play this game.
Yeah.
And I bought a PS3 and an HD TV around that time, and I was like, dude, Star Wars, this is pretty cool.
Right.
And played those games. But other than that, I mean, like, I really didn't like dive into it at all. I've told the story before, but I just thought when Disney bought it, I just took a refresh and I was like, cool, now I can start from scratch.
Yeah. John, EU? Legends?
Not really. Similar to James there. I had a couple of the action figures, like I had Bounty Hunter Chewie, and he came with like a buzz cut. It was so weird. Yeah, it was. He looked
security
like,
guard Chewie.
Yeah, he looked like like LaFleur's from Mallrats.
Yeah.
You beat him with like a sock of nickels. But yeah, shout out to the Empire. I had that game. So that's my dive into EU, I guess, with Princess Izor, and I didn't get very far in the game. I think I got to the second level and I couldn't get past it, and it made me hate it even more. No, but I never really got into it that much, to be honest with you. I never saw. I guess kind of like how George Lucas saw it, except I didn't make money off of it. He let people tell the stories, but he didn't consider them canon. Star Wars were the movies to me. And that was that. So I never really got into it. So I guess that's probably why I can't relate as much to the people who were upset when they wiped canon, because I never thought it was canon anyway. I thought they were just some fun stories people were telling.
Yeah, I have to agree. I always viewed them as kind of just like bonus things. Like they weren't the true story. And I use that loosely because the movies are what was true. I remember, like, I don't know if these stories count. Is the one where Leia gets married to Han, does that count? Is that EU?
It has to
with
be,
the
yeah.
Hutts?
Yeah. I don't know.
Wait a minute. Leia gets married to Han?
Yeah,
and they
like,
had the
it's
twins.
Like this whole story, yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
I know the twins
EU.
are EU.
Yeah. That's all EU. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
I read those books when I was little, and I used to run to the library to a certain section to read them because I thought that everybody was running to get them.
I think it's, unless it was a novelization of a movie or one of the movies, everything else was EU, because George Lucas didn't write any other stuff.
Right.
Well, what I'm saying is like, what is your specification of Leia and Han getting married? Because
it was like this tale where
I would say like they did in canon, but.
The funny thing is I read them so long ago that I can't give you like specifics, but I just remember loving that they had a story that Leia and Han got married, because you don't get to see that in the movie. She wore some ridiculous like 80s
I guess
dress
you're saying
on the
like
cover.
They had like a wedding ceremony.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, I don't know if that did or didn't happen, or if it doesn't seem like they do any of those like tropes,
Do you think Han Solo's like that guy who doesn't dance at his own wedding? I bet.
No, he'd do it because Leia wants to dance.
I don't know. I don't think Han would be a dancer.
Leia and Han getting married would not be like an official thing, I feel like. I mean, like they would like do it like kind of at Vegas sort of a thing, and then like go
No way.
Like
Leia's
Canto
like
Bight?
a political figure. Like she's gonna have a wedding.
Really? Oh, you think like Princess Di sort of thing?
No, not. This is getting weird. This whole conversation is getting weird.
What, a political
That's exactly
figure's
what
wedding.
I thought you were saying, Lacey. Yeah. Like she's a political figure. She's going to have a wedding. It's like, I don't really necessarily think so. Like if you're a political figure, if you're a senator in the United States Senate, I think you'd still do whatever you want.
Yeah, but I think she would want the ceremony, whereas Han wouldn't. I don't think she's like one of those people that's like, I don't want to do it.
Are you saying like a big like a huge thing?
not a huge thing, but enough to have people that she cares about at it. I don't know. This is like deep diving into who Leia is as a character, what kind of wedding
you
she
brought
wants.
up Han and Leia getting married.
I said that's the book I read. You guys dove into this like
guess what?
The one that was like, what do you mean by married?
I just wanted to give my answer of this EU question.
You shouldn't have read that book. Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Well, I also know about Jaina and Jason. I liked those guys, girls, people. I thought that storyline was good.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I only like canon stuff now, kind of. Next question. Paul Ho asks, do you think we'll get to see...
Probably.
How, Ho, whatever. How?
Vintage Gilleran.
Give me a break.
Hey, Paul. I got your back, brother.
Do you think we'll get a Leia scene where she watches a hologram of her mother in The Rise of Skywalker? John?
No chance.
Yeah, I don't think so either. James?
There's a
I'd
better
say
chance.
No too, but Natalie's surprising people.
There's a better chance of Natalie Portman being like the next Thor than her showing up in Episode 9.
She is the next Thor.
That's what I'm saying. Is like I think people are like, oh, how did they do those Natalie Portman scenes in Endgame? And then they find out that she like is coming back, and it's like, oh, they probably actually got her.
If they put Padme in Episode 9, it would just be like, come on, like why is she in that movie?
It doesn't really make sense.
Oh boy, let's push Rose Tico to the back and make her a commander and stuff, and let her push a button. But let's bring Natalie Portman back for a hologram for 3 minutes. Good grief. Next
is Maerk at kind of vacants.
Sorry, I kind of interrupted you.
You guys are just interrupting me all night. Maerk, hi Maerk. He said, "This Patreon is growing." It is. Thank you for noticing. What is your plan to manage growth? What do you foresee, or do you foresee any changes? I'm gonna go first on this one because I've let you guys go first on everything. Maerk, thank you for noticing that we're growing. We're very excited about it. Our plan for growth, right now, our plan is to just keep doing what we're doing. You know, we're having a good time. We like putting new content out for you guys. I think compared to probably like 7 months ago, we think more actively about content. Like every day we're thinking about things of like what we should post for you guys, or what can we record that we're doing that you guys might find interesting, or what kind of, if I go to a Target, should I film it? That type of thing. Whereas I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but 7 months ago, we weren't thinking that actively about what kind of content we're producing. Whereas now we're excited about it. We want to try new things. We want to give you guys the best experience ever. Do I foresee any changes? I could see us maybe adding more tiers. We've had some conversations about that. Maybe doing more trips and stuff. I could see that happening. Changes of like who we are and what we're doing, not really. I think we like what we do, and I think we do it pretty well. And you guys always come first. So whatever you guys want to see is what we want to do. So I guess just let us know in the comments if there's certain things that you'd really wish we did, and we'll try our best. I don't know if you guys want to chime in for this one.
John, anything?
No, I mean, ditto to that. Yeah, I mean, we're really, appreciative of all the support and, you acknowledging us growing. I mean, it's incredible. We're not even at a year yet, and this is where we are. So it's pretty awesome. Just, maintaining the community. I think it's important. I think a lot of you recognize when you're on the page itself and interacting with each other in the comments and on the posts that even you make in the community section. And if you're tier 3 and up in the chats, like, it's always positive. It's good. It's healthy. It's fun. And I think that's hard to come by in Star Wars fandom these days, especially on social media. When you're trying to interact with people, there's a lot of negative twinges there. And we're lucky and fortunate enough to be able to have harbored an audience. And that's, mostly thanks to all of you guys for making it that way. So we're going to try to keep that going. And then, like Lacey said, we'll see. I don't know. We haven't really had discussions about formal discussions about changing things up, like Lacey said. So, I mean, we'll see where it goes once we hit the year mark and see where we're at, I guess. as we're hitting the Rise of Skywalker time, and then see where it goes. But we're, like you said, we're always thinking about new things to do, and damn it if I don't know that I have to dance in women's heels and do a yub nub. So that's coming.
12 seconds, baby. James?
I definitely know that we're always looking at different ways to do the same things. So, like, prominent chat, and we're always considering if Twitter is the best option for that. So we occasionally will look at other chat options to see if it would be better or could match the growth. There are a few things as far as like us using YouTube or like, Vimeo and other options that are more popular with the brand of Patreon. We've looked at a couple of different options like that. So I would say a lot of things of like the same things that we're doing, but how could they be done better? And then there's always, I think the biggest thing is always just trying to figure out the tiers. And I think that's like the main component to every Patreon page out there. And does it still make sense to do blank at this tier when we're now at this level or anything like that? And for the most part, as you guys can see, like we don't change things very often because we feel like it's pretty good. So whenever we talk about making a change, we don't just do it lightly. So those changes come with like a lot of thought put into them to ensure that it's the best for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one more thing I'll say is we're not like competitive, so to speak, as a podcast, but we take pride in not being outdone, I guess is a good way to put it. And we take pride in being a very active Patreon page. We try to give you guys as much content as we can every week to show our appreciation for your support. And we're definitely going to keep that going. So that's our foot's always going to be on the gas there.
That's another one thing I've noticed is like when we first started it, we always were like, what's a random thing we could do to add to Patreon? And now we've gotten to a point where we're like, we're pretty regular with the type of content that we put out so that it's a weekly basis of things. Whereas before, Lacey, you were kind of like, we used to just go to Target and be like, oh, we should probably be filming this. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, we don't, but like we go to Target every week and it's the same show because we do the same thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like we have like a set system now. Which is how we kind of handle everything from here on. Like we don't just want to do something random for the Patreon because then it's like, I don't know, we need to figure out if that's able to be consistent because we want to only do things that we know and can promise that can be consistent, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last point I'm going to make about this is that, over the past almost year, getting to know you guys has been really, really awesome. No matter what tier you're at, if you're just chatting with us online or you're in the group chat or, you're a general and or an admiral on our calls, getting to know all of you has just been so wonderful. And it's honestly like growing kind of like a family type thing where I look forward to talking to you guys and chatting with you guys. And when I see stuff, I can't wait to share it with you guys. So I just wanted to take a second to thank you guys for being a part of this because we couldn't do without you. And I understand that some people come and go, and that's fine. But just know it hurts us when you leave. Up next is Todd Degrosseilliers, and he asks, if you had to replace an actor for a major character in any Star Wars movie, which actor would you replace, and who would you replace them with?
Easy.
I know what you're going to say. Kurt Russell, Harrison Ford.
Yep.
Shut up.
Easy. So easy. Maybe Adam Driver with Paul Dano.
Just stirring the pot. Just stirring it.
I'm a big Kurt Russell fan, and he auditioned for Han Solo. And I've always said this, oddly enough, it'd be so okay with me if he was Han Solo and Harrison Ford never was. Mm-hmm. Like, it would have been awesome, I think. So that would be my pick, as much as I love Harrison Ford.
I always wondered, because this was one of the rumored people for Anakin, I always wondered what Leonardo DiCaprio would have done with Anakin, because he was like the guy George wanted.
That would have been so weird at the time.
I know, but now you look back and you're like, he's actually a pretty good actor. So I wonder what he would have done with it.
It's like Titanic era Leo.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that Leonardo being Anakin would probably have been similar to Adam being Kylo Ren. In the sense of like, he's like, yeah, I'm doing the Star Wars thing, but I really want to do this other stuff, and I want to do serious movies.
Leo
and then
was a bigger star, though.
What?
Leo was a much bigger star.
Yeah, this was after Titanic.
Adam Driver was. Yeah.
Titanic was 1997.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but like,
I mean, I get that. He was the guy.
Adam Driver was in Girls on HBO.
I get what you're saying skill-wise, though.
But what I'm saying is, like, look at him now. Like, what I'm comparing it to is not only do you have a really good actor who wants to do other better projects than Star Wars, and I don't mean that offensively, but you also have this, like, heartthrob of an actor. Like, so in both roles, you would have had people swooning over the lead character.
I guess so.
Not
but
to
I
say
see
that
what
people
John's
weren't
saying.
doing that over Hayden. I'm just saying it would have been a totally different world.
I'm not talking about that.
Probably
stuff.
reminiscent to like the Raylo type stuff if it would have been Leonardo DiCaprio. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just making that up.
Do you have someone, James, that you would want to replace with someone else?
Gosh, I mean, it's hard because you say a name and you're like, why? You know, like whoever you say, it's like, why? I don't know. I've kind of skipped around all the different trilogies. Maybe Boyega was someone. Like, I like John Boyega. I'm trying to think though if there's someone that could have done that role similarly or just differently. I don't know. I know that sounds like just every option, but I'm trying to think like I don't know, like maybe Chadwick Boseman
Shia
or something.
LaBeouf.
Obviously, yeah.
Dude,
do you realize I love Shia LaBeouf. I think
hold on,
he's
though.
So good.
That's Indy 4 though.
I know.
Because Finn interacts with Han Solo so much, you'd have Indy 4 all over again.
I know.
Oh yeah.
And Shia LaBeouf, like he is talented, but he's such a schmo, man. Like he's always like, he makes me like him, and then he knows how to make me not like him. It's one of those weird things.
I feel like he acts like Vince Vaughn. Like he's a Vince Vaughn 2.0.
Really?
He does that like thing where he's like you and then me and then you me and then he like does that like weird.
That's a Night at the Roxbury.
No, I'm saying he does that like weird thing. He did it in Transformers a lot that Vince Vaughn does, where he's like talking really fast and he keeps speeding up.
But I'll tell you this:
I get
don't categorize anything Shia LaBeouf does with what he did in Transformers.
Why?
Because that is like the thing that broke him.
I liked Transformers, the first one.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying don't enjoy what he did in the movie. I'm just saying.
And don't underestimate Shia LaBeouf either. He's still young. He's more than meets the eye.
I loved Even Steven. No,
you're on the wrong side of the LaBeouf.
He was amazing in Even Steven. Don't even start.
I hope someone out there got my joke.
This is like I don't know.
The best.
I can't think of an example. The only one that's coming to mind is like Bryan Cranston. Like comparing him and loving everything he did like before Breaking Bad, and it's like, but that's not when he got like good, you know. But I know people would say this.
Even Steven, where he has to tell Tani he doesn't like her anymore, and his best friend goes, "Did you tell her?" And he goes, "Yeah, of course." And it cuts to him riding a bike, and he's riding by Tani, and he just yells, "I can't go out with you anymore!" And he just keeps driving, and it's the best thing ever.
I thought Bryan Cranston's best work was in Seinfeld, but
when he was the dentist, right? Doesn't he have a party and
Tim Watley? Yes. All right, let's roll out to the next question.
Next is John Reese, our newest general. Hi, John. He asks, "What are your guys' day jobs? I myself am an architect." Wow. That's awesome. I am a video project manager for a company that does marketing for contractors. It's called Contractor Nation. That is what I do.
So call Lacey at work and say...
So if you need to get your basements refinished, I'm your girl.
James?
I worked for a speaker parts and electronics, I don't want to say manufacturer, but like distributor. They it's the site's called partsexpress.com there if you want to check it out. But it's basically kind of like, I don't know, a retail site like Guitar Center or something, but it's not music. It's like specifically like speakers and speaker building, and then like occasionally some other stuff like HDMI cables and television electronic type stuff like that. But we are like almost exclusively like building crazy, I don't know, like bookshelves and tower speakers and stuff like that. And we sell all that. And then I do the social media and videos, and I try to make sense of all that stuff and explain it. Yeah.
I think I did your silent disco, by the way. I think that was yours.
I think it is too. It could have been, but there are a lot that look similar to that. I mean, generally they're all going to
look just like it with the symbol and everything. It has 3 channels, and you switch between them. And we had 3 different DJs. Oh, it was so fun.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's interesting working for them because it's like they're their own fan base. Like, if that kind of makes any sense. Like, we have a Midwest Audio Fest. And like people come from like all over the world to come to this speaker design competition.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's like Celebration or something where like all these people are like, oh, I can't wait to go to that. And they all congregate. But then like nobody knows it's like behind Target, or whatever.
John?
I am a senior production project manager for publishing. So my company gets hired by publishing companies and universities and like scientific organizations to produce their books for them. So we're like their vendor so that they don't have to deal with the creation of the books. So I oversee the production of books from scratch, like manuscripts, all the way to finished product. And that is what I do when I do what I do.
Next is Christopher Anderson. And he asks, how did you all come together since you live in different areas? Through John's interviews on other podcasts, I know originally there were other co-hosts in the beginning. So who's been on this the longest, John?
I think both of us.
Yeah, both of us. It's like within a week.
Yeah.
All right. Who was first?
I think John.
I was on episode 66. That was my first episode.
Then
nice.
I think me.
Yeah. So how did we come together? Don't all rush at once.
Well, he was first, so I'll let him go first.
Yeah. So John already worked for Star Wars Newsnet. He can tell that story. He was already involved in all the stuff that they were doing. I straight up was a fan who liked podcasts and wanted to find some Star Wars podcasts. And there were like, let me tell you this too. When this started, it was slim pickings, and there's a lot of Star Wars podcasts out now. There weren't in like 2014, 15, or whenever I started listening. One of the ones that I found was the Resistance broadcast, and I was listening, and I was like, okay. And for whatever reason, it was like the only one that I seemed to like regularly come back to. And, then the main host was saying, hey, if you ever want to be on the show. And I was like, that's crazy. They're not talking about me. I don't know why. I don't know who they're talking to, but they're saying, if you want to come on the show, reach out to us. And I was like, okay. And then a couple weeks went by and they asked the same question. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to reach out, shoot them an email. Yeah. They're asking, I'll do it. So they said, yeah, come on the show. And then I hate to say like the rest is history, but like they said, yeah, why don't you come back on? Why don't you come back on? Why don't you come back on? And then it just kind of got to a point where I was like a regular. I expected to come on. And meanwhile, John was kind of also just one of those people that was like, hey, you should jump on. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. you should also join the podcast. Does that sound like fun? Yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then like kind of just got involved in becoming a regular as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess so. I was writing for Star Wars Newsnet only for about a month or so, and then I saw they had a podcast. I didn't know until like a few weeks in they had the podcast, and then I was talking to Pat, I think online or whatever, who was hosting at the time, and I was like, "Hey, do you guys ever like want someone to come on from the site and talk? I know Grant goes on," and they're like, "Yeah, come on!" And that's when they would be like, "We have 7 people on the podcast tonight." And they would talk. It was like my first episode was 3 hours and 20 minutes. 3 hours and 20 minutes. And Bill was on at the time, and I was like, this is crazy. I remember sitting at my dining room table with my iPad, and I was just talking into my iPad, and that was me being on the podcast. And I was like a little nervous and stuff. And then like 10 episodes in, like Val's like, I really like you on the podcast. I like Jane's on the podcast, and Bill and Pat, and like we can get a really good thing going with this. Let's like reboot it. So we rebooted TRB in like June of that year with the 4 of us, and it like we consider it starting again then. That's pretty much like when we started. And then like a year or so later, Pat, like he left, and then Bill he left. And then
he left after I came.
Yeah, around the same time. He was there for like an episode or 2. So then we were like, oh, we need someone new. And I was like, let's try this person out. And we got Lacey. So
yeah. So the new reboot is coming soon.
Random person. Why? No, I reached out to John for
they've seen
advertising.
Yeah, if they want, because they're probably like, oh, this story again. We went into like a heartfelt version of this in our like New Year, like looking back, I think. Our looking back episode, we had a real big...
All you need to know is I'm super awesome. I was in Disneyland at the time. John asked if I wanted to come on. I was like, sure, I'll be back Monday in Connecticut. And he said, what? I'm in Connecticut. And then we found out we were 15 minutes from each other. It was really weird. That's it. That's how it happened.
Yeah. We did a test
More like
call.
25.
We did a test call with her.
Yeah, you guys were like grilling me. I was so nervous.
Good. That was the point.
And I was swearing a lot.
That's called a job interview.
And James
James
was like, she can't swear.
And back then, Lacey only had 40 Twitter followers, and now look at her, folks.
Oh, jeez. Here we go. All right, next
40?
question.
I'm just kidding. She had like 900.
I was gonna say, I was like, I didn't.
I had
40.
like 600.
Yeah.
But doesn't matter. Anyway.
Billion.
Next is Ryan Simi. And I am so sorry, Ryan, to you and Simeon for messing up his name. I'm a terrible person, and I'm sorry. So he asks, would you be interested in a horror style film like the Star Wars book Death Trooper? No, I hate scary things. Before this call, I made them stop recording so I could kill a bug, but not me. I had my husband come in and kill it for me because I'm so afraid. James?
Step aside, my lady. I'll kill it for you.
I hate bugs so much.
I didn't read Death Trooper. I don't know much about that, although I have heard before that it was kind of like horror inspired. My thing about horror is I feel like let's kind of unwind Star Wars a little bit before for live action stuff before we get into like more genre. I think people talking about what some of these shows could be already feels like it's too soon. Like I think we need, like I don't know. I'm throwing out a number. Like show 6 maybe does something different, kind of in a different genre. I just don't know where we go. Like at what point could we ever do like a Star Wars comedy? Or like a Star Wars.
I think all Star Wars are comedies.
What?
I feel like all Star Wars are comedies if you look at it from a certain
you know what I
point
mean,
of view. No.
I knew you were trying not to say that.
Yeah. But I would say I'd be okay with it. I just think we got to give it more time.
Wait, what does that look for?
Because Han will have that shield down.
Oh, got to give him more time. Got it. Lando. You want to do a quick little game of Who Are You?
No, answer the question.
I don't think so because I don't think Star Wars is about R-rated and scary stuff. I mean, you get elements of that. Like I feel like Darth Vader in the corridor in Rogue One is like the movie Aliens to me, which is like a horror movie, but that's like a sprinkle of that, like a little bit of that. So I think you'll get like moments like Anakin burning up. That's a little scary. There's certain moments that are scary in Star Wars. Ezra with the Emperor in the World Between Worlds when he's got him in that hallway. That's a little scary. Stuff like that. But I don't think they're going to be like, it's the Star Wars horror movie special. Like, I don't think they're going to do that. And plus it's, it's Star Wars. It's got to stay family and for kids and that sort of thing. And like PG-13 is their max. They're not going to go Jason Voorhees on us. So I don't think so.
Nice. Well, guys, that's it for September. Thank you so much for your questions. Thank you for your support. It means everything to us. Keep an eye out at the end of this month for October's questions. Trailers coming soon, guys. And then Mandalorian. And then video games. And then comics. And
when are we posting this roughly? Like, is it going to be before next week's episodes? Before?
Just tell them, John. Are you going to say that we're going to talk about our predictions for...
What?
Yeah. Our predictions for the trailer.
Yeah, it's going to be before that, John.
Okay, so yeah, Thursday, October 3rd, we're going to be doing our predictions for the final trailer in the Skywalker saga.
Here's a hint. Jar Jar Binks.
All right, bye.
Thank you.